Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 5th, 2025 school committee meeting. Being this is the first meeting after the town election where we welcome new member John Mooney. Welcome, John. I, as the senior member of the committee, have the privilege of being the chair for about 30 seconds until we elect a new chair. I will note, I have to read the statement that this meeting is being held remotely or in person as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 and all other applicable laws temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. Is anyone recording?
Can I just take a photo?
Yes, you may. Not a problem. Is there anyone on Zoom recording?
No one's risen.
No? Okay. All right, great. Thank you. All right, well, we are here, and as I mentioned, this is the first new session of the school committee, and we are called to order. And first item of business is to elect a new chair. We have a self-nomination process, and Jen Benham put her name in for chair, and she's the only one who put her name in for chair. So unless anyone would like to discuss how fabulous of a chair Jen is going to make our committee, I would take a motion to nominate Jen for the position of chair.
I will make a motion to nominate Jen Benham for the position of chair.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Cameron Davis. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? All right. Congratulations, Madam Chair. We'll pass the gavel.
Thank you very much. And as everyone will help me throughout this meeting, make sure I'm talking into the microphone. As we all know, I tend to talk a little quietly. Okay, so moving on to the election of the vice chair. We have one person who has self-nominated for vice chair, and then that is Michelle Eyre.
Yes.
Is there any discussion? No? Right, and I will take a motion.
I will make a motion to nominate Michelle Eyre for the position of vice chair.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Any opposed? All right. Congratulations, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then last but certainly not least is the election of the secretary. We have one person who has self-nominated, and that is Allison Anderson. Any discussion?
I'll nominate Allie Anderson for secretary.
I'll second. Any opposed? Nope.
All right. Aye.
Congratulations, Allie. Thank you very much. Okay. So moving on is moving on to our first order of second order of business is 2.1, which is approval of minutes. We have the April 7th minutes, which are in the packet. Is there any discussion on those? No? All right, I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the school committee meeting held April 7th, 2025.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have to abstain, I think. So.
And I'm going to abstain as well because I was not at the meeting.
Sorry, I'm getting all confused with Michelle over there and the
I know.
motions.
We will switch for the next meeting to make it a little bit
Just teasing.
more easier on you. All right. Okay, so it's just the one in the packet, correct?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So moving on to,
Wait, did we vote?
yes,
Did we did? Okay.
John and I both abstained.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
So
The
5-2.
abstentions threw me off.
All right, moving on to item number 3, which is questions and comments from the public. Let's just check, see if they pull up the Zoom. Is there anyone in the public or anyone on Zoom that have any questions or comments? If so, I will read the statement if we have anyone online that has questions. Just see. Nope, no one is online. So anyone from the audience? I don't see anyone. So we will move on to item 4, which is superintendent's report. Katie?
Terrific. Well, I would first and foremost like to thank our returning members, Matt Cosman and Allie Anderson, who know exactly how much work they are in for. And to John Mooney, I'm very grateful to him for stepping up. So I look at everything as a lesson for our students. This is democracy at work, and just very grateful for all of the volunteer hours that you all donate to the town. Couldn't be more grateful. So I also wanted to share a note of thanks with all who contributed to the success of the school-sponsored articles that were passed at town meeting last week. So that development and vetting of warrant articles, as you are well aware, is a multi-month process. And I'd like to thank our Executive Director of Business, Aisha Opong, our Director of Facilities, Matt Meehan, the School Committee, Advisory Committee, Select Board, for the number of hours invested in the proposed articles. So we're grateful that all school-related warrant articles, including those relating to schematic designs for the HHS roof and HVAC, the schematic designs for the South and Plymouth River School roof projects, the turf field and bus leases all receive broad support by the community. These capital investments will help us to continue to provide well-maintained facilities in support of our students and programming. This past weekend and over the past few weeks, we've had a very busy time for our arts program with numerous events. Last Thursday, there was an extremely well-attended HPS Arts Night, and it's very inspiring to see the progression of our students from K to 12 as their art skills, both in the visual and performing arts, just continues to bloom. New this year, we introduced music and drama performances, including a really spectacular interpretive dance that was set to music. And so each year that evening just gets better and better. We also had students performing in the square this week at the Hingham Art in Bloom event. And this coming week, we're looking forward to HHS Drama's Spring Play 8 Minutes. I believe it is now sold out. And so that will be held on Thursday and Friday evening, May 8th and 9th. And then we like to call May Summer. It feels very much like the holiday season with so many terrific events. So we have a flurry of concerts at the elementary, middle school, and high school over the next several weeks, and hope you'll join us. Excited that tomorrow evening, on Tuesday evening, we will have a really important presentation by Timothy Cruz, the Plymouth County DA, and his team, who will be giving a presentation for all families and caregivers on the topic of cyber sense. For the past few years, the Plymouth County DA has offered student assemblies at Hingham Middle School on the topic of cyber safety, highlighting digital citizenship, digital footprints, and strategies for staying safe online. So this year, for the first time, we're thrilled to offer the companion programming for K-12 parents and caregivers, and I'm very grateful to the Plymouth County DA's office for supporting students and families in navigating this very important topic. One more reminder that on Monday, May 19th, we're thrilled to be dedicating the new Foster School Library in honor of much-loved former Metco director Camilla Roundtree, who served in that role for over 40 years. We're looking forward to welcoming back some HPS Metco alumni who will share their memories of the impact that Ms. Roundtree had on our community. And this also serves as a reminder to the school committee that our next school committee meeting will actually be at the new Foster School. So that will be our first show over at that new space. Finally, just wanted to thank again the members of the Strategic Planning Steering Committee who are making terrific progress in charting the course of our 2025 to 2028 strategic plan. The group is on track to complete the content of the strategic plan in early June, and we look forward to sharing a sneak peek of an early draft of the document with the school committee. The completed plan will then be sent out to a graphic designer, and the final product will be available for distribution to the community this summer.
Okay, great. Thank you, Katie. So let me just get my glasses on here, excuse me. All right, so the next order of business is any communications received with the superintendent.
Just one I thought was fun. So as you know, our French students at the high school do an exchange with France. And for those of you who speak French, I actually have the Cahors France article covering from their lens the impact of our students visiting their community. So if you don't speak French, no worries, but I thought that was a fun communication to include in the packet tonight.
Great, thank you, Katie. All right, moving on to 5.2, which is student communications. We do not have our student with us this evening, so moving on to other communications. Anyone on the committee have anything for other communications? No. Okay. All right, moving on to unfinished business. We don't have any. And then moving on to item 7, which is new business. We have a proposal from an Eagle Scout, Huck Shaughnessy, who is here to give us a presentation.
And I'm going to embarrass Huck for a moment. I have known Huck since he was in kindergarten and couldn't be more thrilled to welcome him to school committee this evening.
Welcome, Huck. Yes.
Thank you for having me. So what I'm going to do, or what I plan to do, is to build a bridge or fix a destroyed bridge that was downed in the South School Nature Trail, just behind South School. It's near kind of like the lower teachers parking lot. So it's not only the bridge, but there are also a few trees that are downed along the nature trail path. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cutting the trees, or the part of the trees that are on the path, and pushing them to the side. I'm not going to be removing all of the trees, just because what I heard from the environmental committee is that it's good for the environment. So I'll do that. And then, as I said, I'm going to be building the bridge that was downed, or that was destroyed. So the bridge will be 12 feet long, 4 feet wide, and 2 feet above a stream. And it will include railings. So let's see. I have a lot of photos. Yeah, so there are 6 trees that are downed. Then I don't know if anybody can see. Do you guys have a slideshow?
Yeah, we all have the packet in front of us.
So with that information, I'll go back. So there are 6 trees. As I said, there are 6 trees blocking the path, and that have just been knocked over from storms, things like that, almost just because of neglect. So I'll be cutting those, pushing them to the side. So the destroyed bridge, okay. So the path, I don't know where to go from here.
Would it be easier if we asked you some questions? Would that
Yes,
first
please.
to answer? Okay.
I'm
You've
just
done a great job explaining it, and the presentation that you gave to us is very informative. So we've
Thank
all
you
had a
so
chance to
much.
look at it, and it's very, very helpful, especially with those pictures. And I see that you've already spoken to the principal at South Elementary School and have
Yes.
gotten approval from the principal as well. So that's helpful for us to know. I'm going to ask, is there anyone on the committee that has questions?
Are you planning to do all the work yourself, or do you have any assistance?
So it won't be just me. It'll be other people in the troop 4. And then there will also be some adults that will be helping cut down the trees, since I'm not allowed to use power tools such as chainsaws. It's just a safety issue. Coordinates. GPS.
The majority of the work will be done with hand tools.
Yes, it'll be mostly hand tools. Yeah, just limited usage of power tools, just because it's not something that
Well, and you're an Eagle Scout, right?
I'm working on it. So, yeah, I'll be working on it during the summer. I'm just working on my proposal. And once I get that done, it's honestly just a waiting game. So, once the proposal is then approved, then I'll begin working on it.
Is there any other boards that you need to get approval from? Are we the last one?
I think you're the last
Okay.
one.
All right.
So
Is there anyone else in the committee that has questions?
conservation as well.
He needs-
Do you have any
Sorry?
engineering support?
Engineering support, how?
No, just to make sure it's structurally sound.
Oh, yeah. So there are 4 like beams that we're going to be digging underneath the ground about 4 feet. Then we're going to be filling them with concrete. And we're also using a special type of wood that'll ensure that the bridge will be nice and sturdy for many years to come.
Great.
Sounds like they're using pressure treated wood, so it
Yeah.
won't be rotting out.
That's great. Well, thank.
One of the dads is a civil engineer.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure it helps. That definitely helps.
Jason.
Great.
Thank you for doing
Yeah.
this.
Thank you for
Yeah.
doing that.
Thank
That's
you
great.
so much.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that has questions? Comments?
About how long do you think the project will take to complete?
I'm assuming a few months, maybe 1 or 2. It honestly just depends on how consistent I am. But that shouldn't be a problem. I'll definitely get it done as quick as I can. I don't have much to do during the summer, so it's definitely something that I can work on.
Okay. All right.
And I would just say, for those of you who haven't seen it, the South School property is really a beautiful piece of property, lovely hiking trails, and very grateful to the Eagle Scouts. Our 5th grade field science students in particular make really great use of the trail. So this will be something that students will be able to enjoy for many years to come.
Thank you so much.
So for procedure-wise, do you need a vote approval from us? Is that how?
Yes, so I need
Very
approval from one of you.
We can do that. I just want to make sure that that's what you needed for
Yeah, that's all I
to
need.
approve for your
Thank you
Eagle
so
Scout
much.
project. Okay.
You want a motion?
I will take a motion.
All right, I will make a motion to accept the proposal of Eagle Scout candidate Huck Shaughnessy to rebuild the bridge and path along the South School Nature Trail.
I will second.
Great. Any more discussion? No? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? All right. You are all set, Huck.
Thank you so
Thank you very
much.
much.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening, all of you.
You too. Have a nice evening.
Needs an email.
Yes, we can send that right away. Right tonight, I can send that right off to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
Bye bye. All right. That was all right. Very nice. All right. Moving on to our 7.2, which is discuss the memorandum of understanding with the HPD, and we're actually going to table this tonight.
Chief Jones wasn't able to join us this
We're gonna-
evening, so we'll table that to a future date.
He was, but we had some
Okay.
questions.
Okay.
Confirm.
All right, so we're going to table that to the next meeting or the following. So that moves us to 7.3, which is to conduct a first read of policies EHB, which is data and records retention, IJOA field trips, and IJNDG artificial intelligence. And I will move over to Ally to take this over.
Thank you. We just wanted to bring John into the committee and really give him a true flavor of policy.
The
Exciting work we do.
And I'll give a little explanation just to help.
Turn him away from Polly. He might be like.
It's so much fun. No, just to help you integrate and know what we're talking about. So MASC, which is the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, of which Hingham is a part, provides suggestions and recommendations of policies that they review on a consistent basis. So sometimes we have policies that we need to update for certain reasons, and sometimes they come via MASC. So we have 2 new policies tonight. They are both related to technology, and that is MASC is doing a full review of their technology policies. So there'll be some more coming down the line. We're kind of just going through them slowly and carefully to make sure they work for Hingham. So the first one is EHB, data and records retention. And this one, it is a new policy. You will note that it sounds very familiar because there is a student policy about data and records retention as well. This mirrors that, but is specific to the school committee. There wasn't one. So basically, everything you do is public and is part of the public record, which we all know, but it's a good reminder. And we also, you'll see in red, made one revision just to make it work better for Hingham to share that the superintendent is the custodian of all of our public records. So tonight is just our first read. We always have to do 2 reads, and we'll vote next time after there's a chance to kind of take it in and make sure there's no other discussion or comments from the public. So this is the first one, if anyone has any.
So Katie will be collecting our cell phones now.
Yep.
Yes.
Katie's going to ask for all copies of everything. You know that it's already there. Okay.
All right, next one.
And then the other technology one I'll do next, just to keep them together. It is IJNDG, which is the code that they gave me. So I did not come up with that. That is what I was told is what is being used. This one relates to artificial intelligence. And a while back, we did discuss this and determine that our policies covered artificial intelligence within our other technology policies and handbook and code of conduct. However, this is kind of a general overarching policy, just stating that this is a growing influence, that we're aware of it, and we're committed to preparing our students for their futures using digital technologies. It's very high level because, again, as we've discussed in the past, we don't want to get super specific. Things change too fast. And really the biggest part of it is not to put more work on Katie, but that the district will have procedures in place that align with these policies. So it's somewhat generic. It is a suggestion from MASC, and we felt it was high level enough that it coordinated nicely with our other policies and didn't get too into the weeds to cause us headaches later. Okay, and then the third and final one is related to field trips. As you know, we have a field trip on the agenda tonight to discuss. There's been a lot of field trips and last-minute competitions and games that come to the school committee because they are out-of-state or overnight trips. And so just to make it a little more efficient, Katie had suggested some language that other schools have used. And so you'll see in red, we've changed that one paragraph only. The rest of the policy remains intact and are just recommending that in the situation where there are tournaments, competitions, or contests that need advanced approval, that the superintendent can have the option to approve those, or that we can do that upfront for the season. Most of them are things that are known that they may happen. So things like the robotics tournament that came to us a few weeks ago, kind of last minute, if we know there's a chance that they may be entered into a competition at the end, that we can kind of approve everything up front. If they don't end up going, it's still approved and they already have that permission from us.
Sorry, I have a question. So are we saying that the superintendent can approve trips or excursions even if for student participation in competitions or contests?
Yes.
All right, because I think this says
Is it-
accept those. So
Except those required for, yes, that, did we,
Yeah, that's.
yeah, I think that's.
okay, so okay,
Yeah.
Yes,
all right.
and this is why we do 2 reads.
And should we just clarify, because the superintendent may approve trips and excursions?
And excursions,
Because I was like, are we differentiating between a trip and an excursion? Okay, but we are not. Okay.
We're not, that's,
So the
Out of
two
our
main changes, which one observation that I've had is like, I feel like we once every 2 meetings, listen, have a teacher have to come,
Right,
spend
and it's
time,
about
wait
that.
2 hours,
Yeah.
and we approve. And we should obviously look at them, but like, it feels like we could know ahead of time. So it sounds like that is one thing we're going to do, try and get it all at the same time.
right, either get them up front or give Katie or the
And then we're
superintendent
also, okay. Yeah,
the option
sounds-
to approve things that are last minute.
Yeah, and I think I know that, again, this is only a first read, but we also discussed in policy that you would also let us know as they come
Yes.
along, whether it's at the end of a quarter or just the list of the ones that you approved in addition to the ones that we approved at the beginning of the year. Just as, and I know that's procedural and that's up to you on how that procedure goes, but I think that would be helpful for us just to know. Because sometimes it's great to know that they're coming and we don't have
Absolutely.
to have them all at once, but just to know.
Absolutely.
Really helpful. Does anyone else have any questions on this one? No? Okay. All right, so we will review these for a second time at our next meeting, as our policy is to have two reads.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ally. All right, so the next is to appoint Catherine Roberts to the Board of Directors for the South Shore Educational Collaborative. And Katie, I don't know if you could just quickly give us a rundown of what it is that you do through, just so the public knows what it is on the South Shore Collaborative. Do you attend the meetings there, or are you on the board?
Absolutely. So the board of the South Shore Collaborative almost works as a mini school committee, if you will, doing very similar functions to what you do for the district. The area superintendents who are members of the collaborative do very similar work of budgeting, negotiations, and hiring of the director of the program are the three main functions. So much of our conversation centers around budgets and how that will impact area districts. And we also do take a look in the same way that you do at enrollment in various programs in the collaborative. And the collaborative has made some really strong improvements to their programming in recent years. And so we're thrilled to partner with them, and want to give a particular shout out to Michael Loesch, the new director, who's been a really great partner with our students, and feel very confident about the direction the program's going.
Great, thank you. I know it sounds just a formality, but I've always kind of been interested as to what it is.
Yep.
So does anyone have any questions? Nope. All right, I'll take a motion.
I will make a motion to appoint Catherine Roberts, Superintendent of Schools, to the Board of Directors for the South Shore Educational Collaborative.
I will second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Nope. All right. Thank you. All right, moving on to 7.5, which is to discuss a proposed student trip to Quebec in February of 2026 and act as appropriate.
And I believe Stacy Turner, our Director of World Language, is online to share information about this trip.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Hello, everyone.
Stacey.
Hi, I'll apologize for some background noise.
No problem.
I have my baby in the background. But I am here on behalf of Ariane Swearingen, and she and I would both like to propose a trip in February of 26 to Quebec City. And that would be February 26th to the 28th. And the educational objective is to allow students to use what they have been learning in class as an authentic experience. Students will be immersed in the French-speaking culture and will learn about the history, people, cuisine, and culture of Quebec.
Great. All right. Thank you, Stacy. I think my son attended this, 8 years ago, so I know it's a great trip. Does anyone on the committee have any questions for Ms. Turner?
Will there be financial aid available for students who need it?
I think she might be.
So sorry, can you repeat that?
Will there be financial aid available for students who need it?
At this point, I am unable to answer that question, but I certainly can find the answer out and forward it along.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right.
Yes, we generally make accommodations, and so I can work with Stacy to ensure that.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? No? All right. Well, thank you, Stacy. We're just going to for the formality here. I'll take a motion so you can get your field trip approved.
I will make a motion to approve the student field trip to Quebec in February of 2026.
I will second.
Any more discussion? Nope. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. All right. Field trip is approved. Thank you. All right. Moving on to, we're just flying through this agenda here. 7.6, which
Setting
is
the bar here.
is to discuss subcommittees and act as appropriate. This is something I actually had requested that we put on the agenda, just as you know, as we have a new member coming on, and we'll be going through what subcommittees we have and what liaisons we are having. And this is not to discuss who's on which subcommittee, but I just wanted to quickly go over the 5 subcommittees that we have, and if there was anyone had any discussion on changing things up, adding, taking away, or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And then I also sent you some data today on our benchmark towns, on their school committees, on what they have for subcommittees. And as you can see from that, there's a wide variety. They all have pretty much the same for policy and finance and bargaining. But then there's some other additional subcommittees that I have included on the list just for your own interest to see what other committees have. So right now we currently have policy, salary negotiations, finance and facilities, which is one, special education, and curriculum.
Educational program.
Educational program, excuse me. And in that list, I have it listed as curriculum because some of them have it differently, but I usually kept it within the same category.
Yeah, they all have different names.
And Tim, would you like to start off the conversation?
We're unique in having a special education subcommittee, and just a bit of the history of that is that was created coming out of a period of kind of profound distrust between a lot of special education parents and Hingham Public Schools.
It actually wasn't.
It wasn't?
No, it was put together to put together the Special Education Reserve Fund for the town.
Okay.
That's what it was originally formed for, and then it was dormant for a really long time.
Oh.
And then it became more active.
It revived. Apparently,
Yeah.
when it was revived, that's when I thought it was created.
Yeah.
So I was wrong about that. And I know with the educational programming and special ed subcommittee, there's sort of two sides of the same coin. And we were looking towards, especially I think there was a push, I think 2 years ago, to combine those two committees. And I think that question is still on the table, but I don't think now is the time to do that, seeing as how we're having a new incoming director of student services. I think it would be a good year to continue to have a special ed committee with maybe on both of our agendas, figuring out ways to maybe combine those two committees for next year, for the next.
So the only thing with that is then if we combine the committees, then we have a quorum of the full school committee. So I agree with what you're saying. And
That's not what I meant. I meant as not literally
Collapse
have
it
them meet
into one.
together.
Collapse it
I
into one.
meant have the two committees become one committee in the not this coming fiscal year, but the following fiscal year.
I'm a very concrete thinker. Sorry.
I was unclear.
Yeah, no.
So it's kind of like how we have, so you're saying kind of like how we have finance and facilities is one subcommittee. You're saying
Yes.
special ed and
Collapse
and
them into one.
educational,
Yeah.
collapse that into one as opposed
Right.
to
That was the original goal in creating the educational
Yes.
programming subcommittee. And I think we got a lot of feedback, especially from special education parents and CPAC, that they did not want to get rid of the special education committee or have it sort of be combined with another committee at that time. But I think we can have discussions about that during this year in both subcommittees.
Yeah. I agree with that too. And there's been a lot of talk about one of the big issues with special education is that it's so siloed in this town or in this district. So there's general education and special education, they're separate. I'm wondering if this might be, if at some point, if we're able to combine them, if this is a way to kind of bring, I know in the educational subcommittee, we talk about a lot of things that would be really of interest to parents who have children in special education. And so it might be a way to do it. I also understand CPAC's concern with not wanting to get rid of it because it gives them a voice. It's something they can directly go to. But I'm wondering if there's some way to, I don't know, we could have, like we have with the student, we could have a CPAC person come to the meetings or just have a standing agenda item once a month or once every 2 months, have an update. I'm wondering if there's another way to make sure we have that parent representation without having two subcommittees.
Yeah, I was kind of having the same thought along with that. And I know we have a liaison for CPAC and then we don't have a liaison for special ed per se, but that maybe we could have someone at the meetings, whether it's every other meeting as a liaison to kind of from that particular group to kind of fill us in. And I fully, I'll let everyone else ask more questions before I inject my opinion, but go ahead, Michelle.
No, I was just thinking, I think part of what we had talked about too, when we decided to, because I know 2 years ago, I think it was, that we were thinking about collapsing the two into one committee, but got feedback from CPAC. And I think part of it too was that because we did have an interim, that there wasn't like a full-time, Barbara obviously was full-time, but that we didn't have the permanent person yet. And that maybe once we move to the permanent position, then we could think about combining those two committees into one 3-member committee.
Right. And I do think there was a lot of crossover. I don't know what year it was at this point, but whatever year I sat on both, because originally it was going to be combined and then it ended up having both, there was a lot of crossover in the discussion. And I felt like we were often saying to the CPAC parents who were there, you should really come to the educational programming meeting because we're going to be talking about all these things. So I do think, to Carrie's point, it would really help them to be able to hear all of it and to be able to give feedback on both pieces together, as opposed to trying to attend two meetings.
And Matt's chair of special ed, so I figure you
I
might.
don't want to lose that. So,
Great to hear your perspective on it, though.
so one question. So literally not one other community has a special education subcommittee. That's my read of this?
From the one from our
Of
from
the-
of the
20 or
benchmarks,
so
I looked at the
15.
two lists of benchmarks, like the demographics and wealth, and then a couple
Yeah.
local ones I added on there.
So yeah, a couple of years ago, I definitely felt like it was the wrong answer when we talked about it. I also had only been on for 1 year on the SPED subcommittee, and now I have the benefit of having been on it for 3 years. And I would support it. I think we should think about it, frankly, for next year. I think we should engage with CPAC and understand where they're at. It's also the leadership has changed a little bit, and so I'm not sure what they would think about it. One of the reasons I support it is there are a fair amount of interaction points that already happen that we've frankly a little bit struggled with. So we've talked about one, right? The educational curriculum, but CPAC meets with what was Barbara in the past. I would meet with we would meet with just CPAC, and I think in a lot of ways we were spending more time coordinating when we could meet versus trying to work on the things that everyone really wants to work on, honestly. So I think it's the right answer to definitely, at the very least, think about it and likely act on it. And maybe sooner, like I agree with you. I don't think we should make a decision tonight and say we're folding the subcommittee without
CPAC needs.
talking about it.
Right.
with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And not like if CPAC said, if they were like, we absolutely say no, that we have to follow that, but that's an important input, right?
Yeah, sure.
They're a really important stakeholder that we want to get their feedback on. But I think they might think about it differently now than they did a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and I think tonight was just to get the conversation started, and I would definitely like to get CPAC's perspective on it before we make any final decisions. Are you saying, Tim, for next year or the following year?
I think they should function. It makes sense to me that they would function as separate committees for one more additional year.
Okay.
To be able to have that conversation and to include CPAC and the new director of student services in that process of folding them together.
Yeah, I think we have time to, with these two particular subcommittees, we have time to discuss it over the next couple of months, and then we can make a decision on it for next school year.
Sure.
Right, because their board may change over in
Yes.
the fall anyway, so
Yes.
that might be a good time if we're going to do it. And I think whoever does, I don't know if like the special ed subcommittee is it doesn't exist anymore, right? But whoever engages with CPAC, I think if we can make it really clear that it's not just we want to fold these, but also like how do you think you can best have your voice to the school committee, and that's really important. And they might have some really good ideas. I'm sure they have good ideas about how that would work. So.
Okay. All right, so we'll continue this conversation onto another meeting, but if Matt, since you are the chair, if you wouldn't mind reaching out to CPAC and just kind of giving them the idea that we've had this discussion. We absolutely want their input, just something that we're thinking about, and welcome to any comments or feedback that they have. Okay.
Can I
Sure, go ahead.
separate agenda item for a different time, but liaisons, we're only talking about subcommittees here. I just have a general question around, we don't have to talk
It's
about it right
subcommittees and liaison. It's the same list.
Because
It's the same list.
I also feel like that list could be sort of looked at
Yes.
again and just say, there's value, there's certainly value, I think, in there's absolutely value in every group that we liaise with. Like that group is doing really good things. I'm not sure we need a formal liaison in all cases.
So do you, any
I don't
specific
know.
ones?
I
I mean,
mean-
I don't mind, we can have the conversation, it's part of the
Or
subject.
maybe I guess also like what do we mean by a liaison and
Yep. What's
you know,
the role?
what do we think is the right answer? Because I know I at times like with HEF I haven't been able to get to some of the meetings. I think that's okay and I have a connection point, but
Yeah, and I think it's important to know what these organizations that we're working with, what they want from us.
They may not want us at
They may not want us at their meetings every month.
right.
They may want quarterly, and I think that's something that, as a liaison, that's something that you can absolutely work out with the organization.
yeah, I don't actually know that the two liaisons that I'm on. I think makes sense to have a liaison. I think it's more, but I feel like when I look at the list, and maybe I think we have cut back a little bit over the last couple of years. So maybe this is a little bit of
No, but like the
There's some of them
one.
we can even, I feel like we could even combine some of the liaisons,
Yeah.
some of the titles of them.
Like the Metco liaison may be one to consider because we created that during COVID, really, because we weren't having the connection with
Right.
the Metco families. And it was really for the families to have like Zoom face meetings with the liaison and the superintendent. But I think Amy Jackson she and I have really we haven't had much to
Not an
liaise. Yeah, right. So that might be one that to chat with Amy about. Like it may not be, maybe it was more of a COVID related position, but if we don't need it now.
Climate action, as much as I thoroughly enjoy the group, same thing. I feel like there are certain things like around Foster, they had questions, but it didn't necessarily meet their mandate. So I'd give them updates and they were like, that's great. Thanks for sharing. We're all interested in it, that it's an energy efficient building, but it doesn't have much to do with what their mission is. So
What if we all reach out to currently, I know get new assignments, but why don't we all take the assignments that we currently are on, reach out to them, organizations, and just kind of get a feel for what they're looking for, if they want us to continue that connection, what type of schedule they want, and then kind of report back at our next meeting with the subcommittee reports. Does that sound
Yeah,
good?
that's great.
That works.
Sounds good.
And I'll take, I think Ness was on a couple, so I'll take hers.
Okay.
And
If you want, I can do them because I didn't have any other than the
be my
middle
guest.
school, so, okay.
That would be great. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem.
All right. So to be continued.
All right. And so for assignments for next year, do you want to wait until we?
We'll wait. Let's wait.
Okay.
I don't think there's any that are pressing that we have to do. We could do the 3 subcommittees.
Yeah.
We could do policy, salary negotiations,
Yeah,
and
that one I
finance.
think
We'll set that. So if everyone wants to, I'll send you all a formal email, just requesting which subcommittees you would prefer to be on, and then we'll hold on the liaisons.
Okay.
Does that sound like a good plan?
And what about the educational programming, special ed?
We will be having a meeting in June once the end of year assessment data is out. Would probably be the next logical time to have a meeting for that. So do we have enough time?
I think that's fine. Yeah, and again,
We can
we're
get
now in
something
a
on the
flow
books.
with that. It's
Yeah.
And I guess we know that there's going to be an educational programming
Yeah.
subcommittee, right? Which is what to do a special ed. So
Why don't we add that one on the list, and then we'll pause on the special ed list until we hear back for feedback for the following school year. So send me your request for the 4.
I'm just thinking,
So for the
is that
4.
complicated though, right? Because then you don't,
That's
like,
true,
you know what I
because
mean?
have
Like
to-
maybe
you
you-
have to make it more even.
right, because maybe you really want to be on special education, but you don't know if it's going to be there. And then all of
True.
a sudden now I'm like, oh, great, well, I'm on 2 already. And I really, and we decided to keep special ed or vice versa.
I guess until new committees are assigned, can we still continue to function as the chair of the committees that we formerly had? Like I can go ahead and schedule a meeting, and then John will get maybe a couple of weeks of a break to get acclimated to the committee before getting a committee assignment.
Yeah, so we could do the 3 that we have, we'll put new assignments for that, and then continue working under whoever's continually on special ed and 'Cause who was on?
Right. I would say for
special ed?
now, have education program and special ed continue to function.
With the people who have been
With
on
the
it.
people who've been on it.
And-
Yeah.
For the, I mean, this is
Because
for
I
the
think
next
there's
couple weeks.
I think there's some overlap with people there
Yeah.
too on those two subcommittees, right?
Yeah.
It's Matt,
Tim's on both.
I'm on
but
both.
you're on both.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any. Michelle.
Yeah,
and I
it was,
said-
it was
Okay.
Ness, it was me and Ness.
So we'll leave those subcommittees, those two,
Okay.
as is for now,
Yep.
Okay.
until we get some more feedback.
Okay.
But we'll continue moving forward with the other three and then hear back from liaisons. And I'm
Sounds good.
trying not to make it confusing, and I know it sounds confusing, but in the end, I think it'll be good.
Yep.
All right. Okay.
$360 in donations from the Gennaros and Numborkar families to install a new sound system in the Hingham High School gymnasium. The equipment, material, and supplies will become the property of Hingham Public Schools, and that's the Derby Street donation.
Is there a second?
That was second.
All right. Any more discussion? Questions?
Didn't we accept that?
Yeah, no, I don't think that's,
Donation
I
from
don't
that?
think
Is
that's,
that the old
that's,
language?
that's an old one.
Is that an old one? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Nope.
Okay.
That's okay.
Sorry, I'd left it in the folder.
Yeah, it's just a Derby Street shop for 360.
It's just from the Derby Street shops?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Good memory.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
sounded
I was
familiar.
wondering.
I know, we did.
Rare that I remember those things. Usually,
Hold on, I gotta, here it is. I've got too many tabs open.
That is how it reads on the, that's how the
That's the one
motion
it
is.
is.
But that's not correct. So
donation.
I will,
Just the most.
I will amend the motion to accept
Okay.
$368 in donations from the Derby Street shops donated to the Hingham Public Schools for general use.
Good catch. Good catch, Ally. All right, any more discussion or questions? Nope. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. All right.
It was really Aisha's face. Aisha was like, "That's not right."
Thank you to
It's hard,
Derby.
it's hard not to give it away.
Never play poker.
I know. Yeah.
Straight face. Feel it.
Well, we're grateful for the donation.
Yes.
All right, next up, we have to approve surplus and act as appropriate. Anything else?
Definitely, no surplus.
No surplus. All right. Subcommittee and project reports. I feel like, does anyone else have anything for that?
Middle school council met on Monday, the 28th, and I'll update you on salary negotiations later.
Human Rights Commission will meet next Monday. We're continuing to sort of move towards Human Rights Commission 2.0, and we've sort of had a few years of being a committee, and now we're looking to sort of take it to the next level and really become more established and part of the town culture. So it's been an exciting time to be on the committee. And this also probably would have been better to say earlier after the superintendent's report. I know Katie talked about town meeting and really appreciated, all of the work that especially Aisha and Matt have done with that. I just wanted to forward that thank you to Katie, that I know you worked incredibly hard, and I think you were so impressive at town meeting. And I think that people who are there really got an image of Hingham Public Schools, that we are competent, compassionate, and in really good hands. So
I really appreciate the support. Thank you, Tim, and thank
Yes.
you, everybody. Thank you.
I thought you were going to talk about pickleball.
We haven't had enough time conversation.
That is not on the agenda.
pickleball policy.
You're not going to use
Fastest
that word.
sport in America.
Matt, am I jumping over you?
No, I don't.
Okay. Plymouth River School Council met last week and reviewed the school action plan for the year, and that will be coming to the full committee at some point soon in the near future. And Hingham Arts is meeting tomorrow night, and Climate Action was very happy to have their warrant article about the stretch code approved at town meeting, and do not ask me to explain the details of it, but you can ask any of them.
All right, Michelle?
The high school council met last week in a fantastic change. The course selection piece of the year is complete, and schedules will go out before the end of the school year. So students will know what their schedules are before they leave for this.
That is big news.
That is very big news. I know, they're very great change. And I mean,
Like August 22nd last year.
I know, it's usually late. So, yeah.
It's really
So
helpful to
good
the high
stuff.
school kids.
There was discussion about the tardy policy, that the students feel it's a little bit of double jeopardy because sometimes they will be marked tardy and get a detention as well. So the language is being updated. We had a very robust conversation about it though, because there is tardy and then there is tardy that is a disruption or inappropriate to the class. So there will be more, I think, conversation at faculty meetings about what that the policy is that if you're tardy, you are marked as tardy and that impacts your attendance. But if some student comes into the class sort of consistently late, making lots of noise, asking the teacher to please repeat because they missed what might have happened, that could rise to the level of inappropriate behavior. So the language in the policy or in the handbook would read, teachers may assign detention if tardiness rises to the level of being inappropriate behavior. Because they didn't want to take that away because it could be considered inappropriate.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, these are not school committee policies.
No, these are not school committee. Yes, this is a student handbook.
Student handbook.
There was also much conversation about the fact that it's a student handbook and how we can try to get people to read the student handbook that everybody has to sign, but nobody actually reads. So there was a lot of discussion about that.
Well, I have a recommendation for that.
Yes.
When we were doing driver's ed, that we had this whole document that we had to read and sign, and there were questions that you had to answer.
You had to take a little quiz.
You had to take a little quiz at the end in order to move on. It got me to read the document.
Yeah, we have to do that at training at work. We have to take a little quiz at the end. We also talked about the school improvement plan for next year, and a big part of that was making sure that we're integrating the doc into the overall student well-being, and so that it doesn't just become
elementary school. We're excited to have it hosted at Foster for the dedication for the library to Camilla Roundtree. And then June 2nd will be our meeting following that. And then we'll set the calendar soon for the following year. Okay. All right. I will take a motion.
I will make a motion to adjourn to executive session, not to return to open session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, for the purpose of approving minutes of the executive session held on April 7th, 2025, and to conduct strategy session with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, the public discussion of which would be detrimental to the committee bargaining position, and if the chair so declares.
I so declare.
I have a second.
Roll call vote. Thank you. So do a roll call vote.
Aye.
John? Matt?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Allie?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
And I'm an as well. And I as well. We are adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.